Lesson 87 is more identities to add to your identity sheet. So go ahead and add these 6 identities to your reference sheet right now. Pause the video, and then we'll use them in our examples for lesson 87. All right, we're going to do some examples using these new sum and difference identities. Keep your reference sheet handy so that you can refer to it, and we are just going to jump right in. So example 1 says sine of theta plus pi over 4, and it wants you to simplify. So go ahead and look at your reference sheet. Look at the sine of a plus b. In this case, theta is going to be a, and pi over 4 is going to be b. And we are just going to plug in using that identity. So it says sine of a plus b equals sine of a, so sine of theta, times cosine of b, cosine of pi over 4, plus cosine of a, which would be cosine theta, times sine of b, pi over 4. All right, so that is just first step using the identity. Now to simplify, these are just theta. We don't know what they are, but we can figure out what cosine pi over 4 and sine pi over 4 are. Some of you probably already know it in your head, but thinking about it, pi over 4 is the same thing as 45 degrees, so I'd have 1 root 2. So cosine and sine are going to be the same. It'll be 1 over root 2, or root 2 over 2. So I can write, instead of cosine pi over 4, I can write root 2 over 2. So it'll be sine theta times root 2 over 2 plus, and then same thing for sine, root 2 over 2. If it wasn't pi over 4, if it was something else, you would just put whatever the ratio was that you could make with that angle. Then to simplify it one step further, I see, oh, I have root 2 over 2 in both terms. Let me factor that out. And I'll be left with sine theta plus cosine theta. And this would be your most simplified answer. We can't do anything else other than that. Example 2 says, find cosine 15 degrees by using 15 degrees equals 60 degrees minus 45 degrees. So we could just type that into our calculator, but we're going to find something way more accurate using these identities. So if we know 15 degrees equals 60 minus 45, we can rewrite this as cosine of 60 degrees minus 45 degrees. And then I can use my identity for cosine of A minus B. So this will be your A, this will be your B. Cosine of A minus B says cosine A, so cosine 60, times cosine B, cosine 45, plus sine of A, 60, times sine of B. This is going to help us simplify because now we have only angles. We don't have any theta, so we can get an actual number answer. So let's go ahead and look at 60 degrees and 45 degrees. So 60 degrees, you have root 3, 1, and 2. 45 degrees, 1, 1, root 2. So cosine of 60 is going to be 1 over 2. Cosine of 45 is going to be 1 over root 2. Or we could go ahead and write root 2 over 2. Then sine of 60 is going to be root 3 over 2. And sine of 45 is going to be 1 over root 2 or root 2 over 2. And then we can just simplify. So we'll have root 2 over 4 plus root 3 times root 2, which is root 6. Over 4. And then they both have the denominator 4, so we can just write it as one fraction. Root 2 plus root 6 all over 4. And that would be your answer. All right, we're skipping example 3 and we're moving right to example 4. It says develop an identity for tangent of A plus B. This is very similar to some questions you're going to have in your homework. That's why I wanted to do it with you. So what we're going to do is we are going to start with the rule that tangent equals sine over cosine, and we are going to develop the tangent identity. I already gave you the tangent identity, so you should know what the answer is going to be. We should get tangent A plus tangent B all over 1 minus tangent A times tangent B. That's what we should get if we do it right. So in order to develop an identity for tangent of a plus b, let's first write tangent of a plus b. Let's rewrite this as sine of a plus b over cosine of a plus b, because we know that tangent equals sine over cosine. Then what we can do is use our other identities that we already know, sine of a plus b and cosine a plus b, and rewrite this as sine a cosine b plus cosine a sine b all over, so that's just the sine of a plus b part. Then cosine of a plus b would be cosine a cosine b minus sine a sine b. So we've just used our sine and cosine identities. Now the next part's a little bit weird, but your goal for the next part is to do whatever you need to do to make this part right here a 1. There are other ways you can do this, but this is how we're going to do it in this class. So in order to find your tangent identity, we have to make this cosine A, cosine B a 1. That means we're going to divide everything by cosine A, cosine B. Divide everything by cosine A, cosine B. And here's what happens if we do that. I'll write it real big. So sine A cosine B, and we're dividing that term by cosine A cosine B, plus we have cosine A sine B. So this is just the numerator that I'm doing right now. We're dividing that also by cosine A cosine B. Then in your denominator, cosine A cosine B divided by cosine A cosine B, that's getting a 1, which was our goal to begin with. And then we still have sine A sine B over, and we're still dividing it by cosine A cosine B. This looks really complicated, but look what happens now. In this term, I can cancel out my cosine B's. In this term, I can cancel out cosine A. And in this term, I can't cancel out anything. So what happens is sine A over cosine A, well, I can rewrite that as tangent A because it's sine over cosine. Right here I have sine B over cosine B, so I can rewrite that as tangent B. I have a 1 right here, and then look what I can do. I could divide that into 2 separate fractions, sine A over cosine A times sine B over cosine B. So this would be the same thing as tangent A, tangent B. And that's how you end up with your tangent identity. Now, you're gonna have some homework problems that say to develop the identity for tangent of A minus B. Same exact thing, there's just a minus sign up here. So do it this way. You are gonna have homework problems, and I assume probably test problems like this. So make sure that you do these every time in the homework and make sure you get them.